All right, welcome back, WTF Music Podcast. This is episode number 4, and our guest today is Sam Kaplan.
Yep.
With with Connect Music here in Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Licensing guy, publishing, all of that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And to my left,
Cass Jones reporting in. What's going on? WTF Music Podcast, episode 4. Let's get it going.
Awesome. So we've had a few different people in on our previous episodes, and it's really been diverse, different perspectives, kind of in the music business. So first guest was Scott Bartlett, who runs a management company. Second guest was Tevin Lavelle, who's a singer, performer, touring artist, and today we have Sam. So it's nice to get somebody else in from the business that sees it from a different perspective. So first off, I guess tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into doing, like, where did music first catch you?
Yeah. Well, I've been playing guitar since I was 9. I've been, I'm traditionally a jazz guitarist, of course, growing up in Memphis, like blues and, rock. And you mentioned Stevie Ray Vaughan earlier off camera. He's my guy. Like, all of that stuff really inspired me. And then, I'm good, but then I was like, I don't want to live a performance life. I don't want to live the touring life. And so I'm like, I was looking at schools, had to go to college per my parents' request.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. And so I was like, oh, this school, I ended up going to Columbia College, and they have a...
Chicago,
right,
yeah.
Okay. And they have a great music business program. And so I just studied music business. I had some great mentors, and I learned a ton and kind of whittled it down to, licensing is taking off, sync licensing for movies, TV, publishing. It can be really lucrative, and it's a job that not a lot of people want to do.
Right.
And so
That's a good point.
It's kind of a convoluted area of the business. It's really confusing, even to those of us. Like, I've been doing this professionally for 20 some odd years now, but there's still things with the publishing side of it that's like, almost speaking Greek half the time.
Yes.
So it's hard to follow. But again, from Chicago, kind of where did you go from there?
I was lucky because I graduated, of course, pandemic. I got 2 good years in college, and then my 3rd year, pandemic hit.
And you were home for college?
I was home, and actually that's another thing. I wanted to do live. Like, when I was in Chicago, I was doing a lot of live entertainment. To make ends meet, I would work for different stagehand companies, like big corporate gigs, and then throw my own shows on the side, like DIY events across the city.
Sure.
And I always thought, I worked for Subterranean, which is a big venue up there, but I always was like, live entertainment. Pandemic happened, and I was like, oh,
well, there goes that.
Maybe I should look at something else.
Yeah, well, and that was a huge wrench in the wheel for a lot of people in the business. I mean,
yes.
Studios ourselves, not necessarily directly connected to the live side of it, but the artists we make records for are making their living off of touring.
Well,
so if they're not making that consistent touring money, you know what I mean? Everybody is like just pulled the brake for everyone.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's gone because of the way streaming pays out,
doesn't.
I mean,
I've harped on that the last couple episodes.
Yeah, that has been
I'll let you talk about it.
Amazing topic.
I told myself last time, I was like, all right, I've said it, and I'll leave it alone for a minute.
It depends on if you have everything organized, if you have the proper agreements, if you have the rights, and if you have the streams and have the audience. Of course, still, even then, it's not paying out what physicals used to pay out.
No.
And
I guess my point in the last few times I've brought this up is that it's grossly not fair.
Oh, yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And one of the things I mentioned before is, like, these companies have a platform, but no content.
Yes.
So, like, it really is a 50... In order for it to work, it's 50-50. You need a platform and the infrastructure to do what they do, but you need content. And that content should be valued in a fair manner.
Right.
Like, you nitpick about how much, but you can't break a penny into fractions and tell me you're doing the right thing.
Exactly.
That's
No.
just not.
And they have content, but it's not. It's so much content, and like 1% or less than 1% is quality content.
Right, exactly.
And
I need to look up the current number again, but there's an astronomically large number of songs being distributed every single
that has also been
day.
a mainstay
Exactly.
topic.
It's
Is just the amount.
Unbelievable how many songs. And again, like you said, like the quality is such a small percentage of those songs.
Yes.
It's just crazy.
It is. And
So even music discovery's become a challenge.
No.
Like you got to filter through so much just subpar recording, even
Exactly.
just quality of it.
Absolutely.
It says about 100 on average in 2022. Oh no! Today, it's a 10% rise from 2022. About 103,000 songs a day.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like
130,
about 100,000
a day.
a day.
A day. Yeah.
And there needs to be some barrier too, because it's like you can't. I don't know. You can't split up all the money. I think subscription price needs to be more. Personally, consumers hate when I say that, but it's also like. Yeah.
Well,
that's a
if they were
valid point.
if they were willing
Yeah.
to share the subscription split with the content
Oh,
creators, but they're not
absolutely.
even doing that now. They're
No.
not sharing a percentage of subscriptions with the the artists who are getting the most, because you could really do it in a very simple fashion. Is like if they're saying, all right, well, we're going to give 25% just as a example number of ad revenue to the content creators. That's going to be paid out on a percentage of who took the most plays, right?
Yeah.
So if you've got the biggest play count, you're Taylor Swift, you're obviously going to get a bigger chunk of that 20, and then you just distribute it accordingly based on your good traffic.
Well-
There's ways to do it, but they're not even trying to right now.
And it is a percentage of all revenue that they're receiving, but it's a very small percentage.
Well, right now,
and
it's the royalty rate.
the royalty
Pay.
rate, and it's being split up pro rata based on the streams you're bringing in. I think that the like fan powered royalties is a very interesting idea. Like
Tell me a little more about that, because I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with what they're doing.
Okay, I'm not like an expert on this.
Sure.
I don't work for Spotify.
Sure.
But and SoundCloud Plus or Pro implemented it, but I'm also like, who really? Not a lot of people have SoundCloud.
Right.
That's
Premium.
true. Not a lot of people use
That's
that
a
as their
very
sole
small
source of
market.
Or their sole place to like connect with their fans.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think doing like, a percentage, like say you have my artists are consisting of, Tyler the Creator, Stevie Wonder. Those guys should get a bigger chunk of my subscription fee.
Right.
Like the artists that I listen to should be getting, my subscription fee,
Right,
not
right.
a pro rata across every artist on the
Right,
Some
platform.
blanket, yeah.
And that's why I love, like, and I'm really happy, like, physicals have come back. I collect a lot of records.
We were talking about that right before you walked in, is that
And
you
the
are
thing
one of
is,
the only...
though,
Go ahead.
vinyl has had a good improvement,
Right.
but it's not. I wouldn't say that physicals are back. If you look at percentages of sales, it's up from where it was.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So
It's not-
back may not be the right
Yeah.
word, but up is for sure.
It is an outlet, and it's a good one. And for the music aficionados, like, I'm a vinyl kid.
Yes,
Man, I love vinyl.
of course.
It sounds better.
It does.
Just does.
It does.
But do you want to take the time, the patience, etc., to
The money.
maintain and have a nice little system?
Well, and it also works, or it sells for some fan bases, and it doesn't sell for others.
Right.
Like, sells for certain genres. And so, like, I'm big into the, like, a lot of my friends are in like punk bands or like weirdo. I'm a jazz head, and so a lot of my friends are in like weirdo jazz and like just experimental art kid shit.
Sure.
And it's like that stuff. Vinyls sell really well. People put their stuff up on Bandcamp, and it's like download the album, send me a donation, and that stuff, and like doing live release shows where you can preview the album and then actually sell vinyls. Like
Right.
that stuff does well
in its niche markets.
In its niche market, relatively.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. And it is nice to see that there's a physical product that is up. I think that there's a demand for something there. Like, the issue is as an industry, we're not really pioneering the next physical product for music delivery.
No.
It's not even really being held
Talked
as part
about.
of the conversation.
Yeah.
No.
Because nobody seems to want to, like, invest and innovate.
Mm-hmm.
But just streaming the music isn't enough, right?
No. And also there's a discrepancy between, like, there should be a standard. I think we're getting there because, like, groups like the National Music Publishers Association, they're constantly going to court against Spotify is the main one.
Yeah, because they're the one that's been fighting it.
They're
for
the
so
ones
long.
who fight it. They're the ones who, and they also, like, but all of them pay different rates. Like, Apple Music
Right.
pays a different rate from Spotify.
I was just
Yeah.
about to ask.
They're
like,
not drastically different. Even though what's funny
Yes.
is I'm pretty sure Apple is actually double what Spotify pays.
It is.
But when you're talking about 0.0037
Yeah,
cents
double that is in
per play.
Yeah.
It's really like
Well, and it's
really
not even it's not even usually per play. It's usually they also like quantify it as per unit sold, which
right.
is also like 150 albums or 1,500 or like 150 streams for an album and 1,500
for a song,
single.
for
Yeah.
single,
Yeah.
which is like
But
crazy.
like
It's
you were
ridiculous.
saying,
It's-
Spotify is the one who's continuously fighting it. Is
Yes.
Apple Music just changing?
they chose to increase their rate. a while back.
Right.
But-
Okay. They
When
chose
that-
to do that
when
on
the-
themselves.
when the
From what I
statutory
remember.
rates got approved, Apple Music was like, okay, we'll just go with this.
Right.
Spotify was like,
So Spotify is the head of it essentially for the
They
streaming.
are literally the anchor.
Okay,
They
and,
are
and
holding
the other people,
everything down.
whether it's Tidal or Apple Music or SoundCloud, they're just
Nobody else is
changing
really
their things to it.
litigating to
Right,
stop
okay.
what's happening. And this is my opinion, but I believe that Spotify is putting the money into attorneys right now because the longer they drag this out, the more
money
look
they're
at how
gonna
much
make.
money
Yeah,
they all
they're-
just
they're
cashed
making
out
off
on.
of this
It's
shit,
absurd.
yeah.
It
It's
is.
absurd. So they drag it out as long as they can, and then eventually they'll be forced to change.
exactly.
But they've already made how much money over the last 10 years?
Yes, which is also such a problem with the marketplace and like how that affects artists because they are the number one.
Right.
And a lot of people use Spotify and they were the first, and that.
There was actually another company before them that had the exact same model, and I used the other company. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's been forever, but it was like they both came out around the same time, and the other company kind of slowly went under. But Spotify was the one that got popular and
Yes.
took
It
off.
wasn't Napster, was it?
No, there was
No.
another company.
Napster's actually still around.
It's fun as a business, as a company, but I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. We deliver music to Napster. Like we deliver to every platform, and Napster is one of the ones. And
It's
I don't
still
know.
listed.
They have to have some market. I think they might have gone under though, because I think that's getting too in the weeds.
too far down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole. But yeah,
That's-
no, it's funny that Napster started it. What'd you find?
Spotify in the last 5 years has increased their revenue from, it's not in dollars, it's in the euro one, but it's 5.25 billion in 2018 to 13.2 billion in 2023.
Yeah, it's probably even more 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's continuously going up. But the thing is that the most money is being generated from ad revenue,
Oh yeah.
advertising.
The marketing.
And all these people, so you mentioned switching to a basic plan, is actually going to increase their ad revenue.
Oh yeah,
You
absolutely.
see what I mean? So it's like they don't even lose.
No, they don't.
Well, either way you go for it, they're going to make up the money,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's on a higher cost subscription for no ads, or you get ads and then they just make more ad money.
Yeah.
So they're not going to lose one way or another. But the royalty rate issue is the thing that's holding everything up because, and I mentioned this before with Cass, that the way advertising money was always looked at, and I'm talking about legally, when you look at, the Digital Rights Management Act and things like this, advertising money was viewed as the investors' investment in their own reward. Because if they were putting the money in, they were doing all the work for advertising. If they made something off of that, that's their money.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way anymore. The model has changed, but the rules on the books have not been updated.
No.
Because now all the money is being made from advertising. Advertising and your subscription fees, which, basically same idea, like I was saying. Is one hand feeds the other. Either way you do it, they're making money from it. So there's no reason that there shouldn't be some sort of fair use agreement made for the content, because the content's not being valued the same way the platform's being valued.
Right.
And the platform taking the lion's share of everything seems egregious to me.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
But outside of that, let's get back to kind of a little bit more about you, and then I want to get into like what you're doing right now and what you guys are working on. But what would you consider your first true like music business job that you got? Where did you start?
I mean, my first, I like to consider everything. So my first was really working for myself and throwing shows in Chicago.
Yeah.
Because I actually like saw money.
Of course. And not
DIY.
taking away from that, just meant more. Like,
no, but my first like full-time paid salary job is the one I currently have.
Yeah.
And that's Connect Music. I graduated 21. I was here for a month. I was hanging out with my friend and his dad. I was, this is a thing I always tell people when like trying to break into a tough competitive business is like, talk about what you do. You cannot be shy and think you're going to make it.
Yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
You have to be your best, own best advocate.
Yeah. Cause no one else will do it for you.
Right.
And that's what I was, every time I'd hang out with someone since graduating, I was like, I want to do this, and this. I'm interested in licensing and publishing. And it just happened that he was an investor in a new company in Memphis called Connect. Got coffee with the owner, and got hired immediately. Have worked there for 3.5 years now.
Nice.
And I've really they were really in the early stages. It was a pandemic business, so really early stages, and I've seen it grow very big, like the past, my tenure there. So
that's fantastic.
That's been awesome.
So as far as Connect Music, just kind of looking at your website, there's, you have some distribution involved. And then obviously you're doing the publishing side of things. So,
yes.
So is it distribution and publishing, or is it a little mix of both, or?
Yeah. My boss, George, would like me to say, which this is true, we are a full service music business. We do everything. I mean, we structure deals how we see, or based on what an artist needs, you know.
Cool.
Like, if we do marketing, if they need marketing and less of an advance, or if they have their own team, we'll, put out some money and say, but, with approval.
And the right deals.
And the right deals. Yeah. And the streams. But we do everything. And for a while, I did the distribution side and publishing, basically set up our publishing business. Okay. And now it's gotten to a point where I can just control publishing, licensing, which includes registrations across mechanical licensing and performance royalties. That's MLC for mechanicals and the PROs, ASCAP and BMI for performance, and then YouTube royalties, which surprisingly, a lot of people listen to music on YouTube. Yeah. And so you can actually make a good bit, and that's micro sync revenue.
Okay.
And then I also do sync licensing, so
very nice.
Pitching for movie,
that's
TV,
what I was going to ask.
Video games.
You mentioned
very
that earlier.
cool.
So sync licensing is getting your art or your song in another form of media.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's like, movies, TV,
video games.
Yeah. We did a deal with an artist summer of 23. Big X the Plug, he's
Right,
like big now.
Huge.
Had that song Texas, bitch, I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
Anyway, we signed him on a publishing deal, and that was really like, we had already been doing good things. Like we had Boozy Badass was our first
course, yeah.
major. And then we did a deal with Endless Entertainment, so like Big 30, Pooh Shiesty,
Okay.
old Moneybag Yo stuff, KJ and Drum God, who are producers. So, which producers, you know, we do publishing for artists and producers because a lot of producers get, you know,
back in royalties.
But then when Big X came along, that's when we really started to see the sync part grow, because he had some really notable songs like Texas, that stuff like that. It goes really well with like Texas sports.
Yeah, I was thinking 2K and stuff like that, right?
We did do 2K24 and 25.
Nice.
Like Fox Sports, All Sports.
Right,
We did a Fortnite sync,
Awesome.
which was cool. He got an emote, which is, you know, he
Awesome.
like did he did like a dance and his song came on. Yeah, it was funny.
That's too funny, man. It's too funny.
Yeah.
But that's a huge market for music. That's like, I think to the average artist, like they don't necessarily know even where to begin on those types of conversations. Like, so I guess for anybody tuning in or listening, if they were to kind of come to you guys, what's some of the first stuff you would want them to bring to the table? Like, what do they need to do to be prepared for these types of, you know, deals and engagements, and like, what are you looking for?
Well, as far as publishing is concerned, we really look for artists who have back catalog, who have a career already, maybe even if they're in the early stages, but who have had a song do decent numbers.
Right,
I mean,
and showing that they're growing and moving up, not
showing that you're
backwards,
growing,
right?
have a team. With publishing, it's hard because we really are looking at it as an investment, and so we really look at the numbers.
It's got to already make sense as a smart business.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's, you know, as any music business has gone through, you end up making bad decisions. That's just part of the game.
The only way you learn.
That's the only way you learn. And so, you know, we really look for those guys who are established. Like there's this artist, Don Tripp, who already, he had like, in the early 2010s, he had some big songs. He had one song that had CeeLo Green featured on it that like went crazy. Yeah. And he was like really an underground Memphis guy, like, but had streams, and we brought him on, and basically as a this was like the first full-time, we're going to administer everything. We're going to get all your back catalog. We're going to do everything. But we've taken his, you know, numbers. We've put out a lot of records with him, and we've taken his audience like up a lot.
That's awesome. He's one of my coworkers' favorite artists. Legitimately, he bumps him every day.
That's so funny. He's
got such a memorable voice too.
He does, and I forget, like, it's crazy being in Memphis. I'm like, I listen to who I listen to, but then there's so many people I forget are like, I'll like hear someone bumping him out of their car, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Money in my pocket.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. Yeah.
That is really cool. So, when it comes to like music publishing, there used to be, I think it was 2 or 3 types of general deals. Like you had your administrative deals.
Yes.
You had your co-pub deals.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I'm trying to blank on the third one.
No, I think that pretty much covers
those are the
it.
main ones. Yeah.
I mean, other than that, you might do a deal that's so specified.
Yeah, like there was the full publishing, like the publisher.
Exactly. or like a full catalog, like just fully
exactly.
outright selling your catalog,
like
deal.
full ownership to just basically, it's a 50-50 split between the artist and the publisher just has free reign to just go ham.
Yeah, or
basically.
it's you're fully selling your catalog,
Right.
Like,
That has been happening lately with some bigger artists, is full outright sales.
Future, I think, did it last 2 years for like 8 mil or something like that.
That's I wouldn't be surprised if it's even more, because there's these companies who are basically investment vehicles now. They're not. I mean, they are music companies, but
Right.
they are full on Hypnosis was a big one, and they were literally owned by BlackRock, the investment
the
firm.
investment firm.
And
Yeah.
so
none of them in there are doing music at all.
no,
Yeah.
and it
But they're
wasn't.
buying assets.
But they
is
are
what they're
buying
doing.
assets. Yeah, that's a lot of times when I'm reading emails or sending emails, a lot of people call them assets.
Mm-hmm.
What are your
assets?
What are these assets like? Anyway, but yeah, Hypnosis, they went on a huge buying spree, and that's another interesting thing, because they were valued at billions, something crazy, some crazy number, and last year it fell drastically, and everyone, I think they were throwing crazy money, and they weren't valuing it right. I mean, the money that they were expected to return isn't coming in.
No, yeah,
and it's
because again, you just owning the right to the song, you're basically, with the way things are being distributed these days, you own the right to 0.0037 cents per however many,
Which is crazy, because they had like Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell's catalog, like all
that
of
stuff
these legends.
is worth far more money in licensing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Not the day-to-day stream.
Yes. Well, that's the thing that's big. If you have like very notable songs, sync licensing can be, I mean, I'm trying to think of like a song that's like Blondie, one way or another. What's the?
Oh yeah. One way.
Forgot the name of the song.
I think that
might be that. Yeah,
It's got to be that.
But that's in like 15 commercials all the time.
Right,
yeah,
right.
And
Yeah.
it's like whoever owns that song, which I think Blondie sold their catalog too.
Yeah, probably.
And
A lot of the older guard, so to speak, are selling it at this point, because it's not like they're going to go tour it themselves anymore.
no.
So they're not going to be getting that public performance royalty.
That was why it was so
Well, they
interesting.
still
when-
a lot of those deals you can still tour it, but it's just not.
Because I was looking into this future thing. I wanted to get the money right. It was 75 million.
That's
Or
what
closer
I
to
was about to
75
say,
closer
like,
to 80 million.
Exactly. Which they're
and
not going to see that.
It was Influence Media Partners who bought it, and they're owned by BlackRock and
Oh, yeah.
Warner.
Yeah.
No,
But
Black-
I know he can still tour all his stuff, because I mean,
Right,
I
right,
think
right.
when that came out that he sold his thing, one of the most interesting things, like, I mean,
It's
he's
just all the money generated from it is going to now go to the company.
right, yeah, but
Exactly.
he's still, I mean, he's an older artist now, not old, but he's pushing 40
Of course,
probably.
yeah.
Like, so he's still got time to put more music
Oh,
out and make
yeah,
money
yeah.
off of the music
Yeah,
he's making now.
absolutely.
And he probably makes, $250,000 to tour for like every stop.
Yeah, every
sure,
stop,
sure.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, he's not hurting.
no.
Again, it's back to the kind of the situation that we find ourselves in, that is, if you're already established, there's platforms for you to do stuff with.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're not established, if you're one of those up and coming artists, it's back to what you mentioned earlier. You got to have a team, and I think, and this is something I in studio with a lot of the people I work with talk about a lot, is that in order to run your music like a business, which you need to be doing,
Yes.
you have to have a team. You have to have somebody that's working with. It's too much for one man job.
It is. Some people can do it. I think you at least need one other person.
You've always got somebody you collab with.
That's
Even on a basic level, friend level, whatever.
Even if it's a
nobody
producer.
is fully doing it just 100% in a closet by themselves.
No.
Like, you at least have to have made connections enough to talk to the right people to put it on the, you have to deal with people.
Exactly.
So building a team of people that you can at least, trust, or even, barter I help you, you help me, like the collective of people trying to do the same thing.
Exactly.
You need that kind of infrastructure to a degree, or you're never really going to get those publishing deals.
Exactly.
You're never really going to get your foot in that door.
No, and I always say, like, I think people are so unself-aware when they say, like, oh, I got it all my own. No one helped me. I'm like, shut up. Someone did help you.
At some point, yeah.
At some point, and that's, I think, if you are self-aware and, like, it's not even about being humble. It's just about saying, like I'm not even, there's still a lot more I want to do with my career, but I'm like, I have had so many people help me. I've been able to run in and just make connections with people that, you know, I'm so thankful for.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gotten me to where I am.
Same here.
Yeah.
I always say we stand on the shoulders of giants, you know, the guys that came before, like everybody I learned under as engineers and producers, they started off in lab coats, man.
Yeah.
My job was a science job. Still is, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really get it nitty-gritty about electronics, yeah, it is.
Of course.
But, you know, somewhere, what was funny, the guys I learned from went from being in lab coats to suddenly, you know, the late 70s, early 80s, and it was like they were the rock stars
Right,
just as much as any band that they had put out, you know? You hear some of those old stories when the money was just like absurd.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, gosh, you know, these guys were doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
I know.
You know? And it's just people that used to be in it for the science and, again, the art too, of course. But, like, if you went into the engineering field, you went in there for science.
Absolutely.
You know, like, you were a nerd with the pocket protector and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, that's how it was in the 50s and the 60s and even early 70s. And then it was like, hold on, this is kind of a big cash cow moneymaker.
Right.
And now
Exactly.
you guys are all worth a bunch of money. And,
Exactly.
you know.
I mean, that's all of those guys are super. I love, like, the old guard producers, or even like the producers. Like, I look at Steve Albini and like those
course.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm
Butch
like,
Vig.
yeah, like nerdy dudes, and I'm
Super
like,
nerdy
but
dudes.
I love
Oh,
that.
man.
That's endearing, like, because they, you know they're going to take care and level everything out and listen to it a million times.
Well, and some of these guys were legitimately on the edge of crazy. You know, I bring up John Hampton all the time from here in Memphis because
Phil Spector.
He was, yeah, there's
Phil
Phil
Spector.
too, yeah. But they were kind of this mad scientist thing, and like they would do and think of things so off the wall and out of left field sometimes, but it would work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Put the mic in the trash can.
or any number of other crazy,
Yeah.
weird
No,
experiments. I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
you got to think like way back in the day, the first time somebody was like, hey, what if we flip the tape and play it backwards?
Right. Exactly.
Like,
yeah. No, you're
you know.
absolutely right.
LSD was a thing.
Exactly, no.
Somebody was probably tripping.
Exactly.
You know, and came up with this crazy idea that we're not supposed to do.
Timothy Leary in the studio.
Yeah.
But there was all sorts of, out of the box, off the wall thinking because they had to be creative and experimentating was required, mainly because back then, when you really think about it, they started off on, what, a 4-track?
Oh, yeah.
2-track, 4-track, 8-track, 16.
Exactly.
Then they're suddenly 24 and they're trying to sync 2 tape machines.
Stitch a bunch of tapes
Dude, that
together.
like thinking about where recording came from, that's crazy.
I've always been so
It's
impressed.
so complicated.
The dudes who like came up on the analog console, like recording, fully analog. That's always been so impressive.
I was one of the last ones to start at the studio, and we didn't have Pro Tools in the
Right.
rooms yet. It was right around 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
When I started, and again, it was like nothing but tape machines. The only computers were for the console automation, and I remember the first time somebody brought in a Pro Tools rig to do a session. Everybody was like, nobody trusted it because the
I'm
computer
sure.
crashed constantly.
Exactly.
Right.
All the time, like you
Yeah,
wouldn't even be
especially
doing
early
anything, and it
2000s.
just
Yeah. Exactly.
man, restart. So like between every take, they're saving and backing up to another hard drive just in case something breaks. It's like, because the technology was just not good.
Yeah.
It wasn't there
And
yet.
it didn't
yeah.
sound good either.
No, I bet.
I mean, like, I remember the 888 rigs, the Pro Tools rigs with the 888 interfaces. And these things, man, they sounded really bad. Like, I mean, if you're sitting there comparing it to
Yeah.
the tape machine, you're just like, why are we even bothering?
Trying.
With this?
Exactly.
Heck, you know. And again, it was crashing constantly, and you had to restart and all this. And the tape machine, you just plugged it up and hit go.
Exactly.
You know. But the other issue was the performers had to actually play it.
Right.
Exactly.
So, you know, and now here we are, and it's kind of flipped, and we've got all the tools in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The artist is entirely too aware of the tools.
Yes.
And
That is such a problem today, man. That just, I feel like an artist going into a session knowing like, I'm gonna just punch this one in, or I mean, there's levels to it and there's skill to it for sure, but I mean, I think with just knowing how your preset's gonna be, and like knowing I don't really have to give myself that much of a great performance and stuff, the result and the art just always comes out just like you can hear it. You can hear the problems.
It's more mechanical.
Right.
Even recording it that way. Not to say like punching in or even doing line by line.
No, there's
like,
skill to that.
That's been done since tape.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's been
right.
done
Yeah,
like,
no,
like
for
seriously,
sure.
artists where they just had to literally, you know, all right, we got that line, patch her into another track, we're going to record the next line. Just get this one line 100 times later. So, I mean, and that's another thing that's kind of impressive about the history of recording is that there's not a single thing we do in there, including copy paste, that wasn't done first on an analog tape machine.
Right.
Absolutely.
Splicing tape, and they're dumping it to another tape machine so you could have a
Exactly.
copy, and you could fly that copy as the second chorus. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they were literally doing everything that we do in here on analog tape. But in order to do that, you actually have to have a depth of understanding and knowledge about one, music, but two, the sonics of things,
Right.
of how it all works
Mm-hmm.
on such a deeper level, because they figured this stuff out.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, you jump in here, it's like anybody can almost just kind of click away and suddenly you're making something.
Right, and
You know?
it'll sound okay for a minute, but
Or it might even be a good idea. I'm not taking away from
right.
it, but you're not going to have that depth of knowledge if you don't dive into the music a little bit deeper than that's just surface level on the tools. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, actually performing the song 100 times is far more beneficial than editing it 100 times.
Yes.
Because when you walk away after that much performance, it's muscle memory. Mm-hmm. As a vocalist especially, you will remember what to do. The body just naturally memorizes it, you know, and it's a muscle, and you have to exercise it and you have to work on it. If you want it to end up being better, not just for live performance, but for your own benefit. Most people, you know, they'll do a record and years later they'll be like, I wish I could go back and redo it. Why? Because you've sang it so many times now that of course you're going to do it better.
Exactly.
Of course you are. Sing a song for 5 years and then go record it. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a million times better than the first time you
Exactly.
recorded it. So, but it's kind of all wrapped around this idea of the artist needs to put in more work on themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Not just about with the team and the building, but also in their own art and their performance. And they need to come at it with this mentality of, I'm running a business. And if I'm going to be good at a business, then I need to be good at this thing I'm trying to sell. And that happens to be this musical art.
Right.
You know, so you need to really dive into it and not cut corners and do something else because it's quicker and cheaper.
right,
And I think that's
faster.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of an industry issue and even on the business end of it, you know, labels aren't really doing development anymore. You know, they just want a product that's already done that they can turn around and sell.
Absolutely.
You know, from here to there, they don't really do anything in that you know.
I think there are labels who are doing that, but it is not. I think there's some great labels out there that are very. It is
and I'm not saying there aren't, but it's not the standard
It's
anymore.
not the standard, especially when you're talking about the majors or even the major independents, which aren't independent, but it's like
major label distributed.
exactly.
Yeah, indie.
But like there are some great DIY. Like I look to a lot of the stuff I'm interested in goes through like International Anthem or Numero Group.
Sure,
Like
sure.
you know, those are like jazz and indie labels, and
Right.
they really do that. But yeah, the majors don't. They want something that is ready to go, like, which doesn't even mean, that's also unfortunate because doesn't even mean quality, but sometimes the shit.
They just, a lot of times it seems like they just want the boxes checked.
Yes.
You have a couple music videos, they have tons of plays.
Exactly.
You have
Polished auto-tune vocals on every track.
Well, I don't even think they care so much about the specifics of the music in that regard. It's just, are the
don't think
numbers all there?
Okay.
Quality's good. Because, again, most of these people are business guys. They're not even music people anyways.
No, right.
They're probably
They're not going
half
into
the
the
stuff
super
they're
specifics.
selling.
They're not going
Exactly.
into
But
the
they
super
know
specifics.
when it's good enough to sell.
How many reels has used this song?
Right,
You're right.
exactly.
How many
Yeah.
TikToks?
Yeah.
What viral cues are there,
Well-
or is it just on the cusp? Even better, if you feel like I could put like $10,000 into ad money and that thing's going to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Something actually very telling happened. I'm sure the deal already happened, but it was announced today. Leangelo Ball,
Yes,
they did a contract for like I think it's a $16 million contract, but 8 guaranteed up front.
Oh, yeah.
And he did this song called Tweaker, and Cass, I'm sure
It's terrible.
it's horrible. It is the worst thing I've ever heard.
This is
and it is huge.
This is LeVar Ball's
Son.
brother,
Son. Yeah. And I'm like,
13 million deal.
yeah, and I'm like, is this? I don't know. This is a deeper thought.
Oh yeah,
but
and
it's
it's with Def Jam, right? Yeah.
It's with Def Jam, and this is a deeper thought. But it's like, how is this? Sometimes I think this kind of music, like this one single that is just awful, and like the lyrics are stupid. Part of me thinks it got so big because it's stupid and because it's LeVar Ball's son.
right. Yeah,
it's
there's a name attached to it.
It's stupid and it has a good hook for social media, but it's also dumb, and
Right.
like people like the dumbness of it. I don't know.
well, it's back to the nursery rhyme mentality, right? If it's simple enough to be memorable,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? It's gonna get stuck
exactly.
in people's brain.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like people are chasing those things and trying to specifically, you know, for lack of a better term, dumb it down to the point that it's guaranteed to be viral.
Exactly.
And that's kind of shooting ourselves in the foot.
Oh yeah,
100%. I mean, it is taking the art out of the art. It is
exactly.
just
Well, there's this old movie. I always bring it up. Did you ever see the movie Demolition Man? Do you know which movie?
Oh,
Wesley Snipes.
yeah.
And what's his name? Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
So there's this funny scene when they end up in the future and they end up in the car with, I think it's Sandra Bullock in the movie. Anyways, and she's like, "Oh wait, this is my favorite song." She turns it up and it's a 30-second commercial ad.
Yeah.
And it's like they're rocking out to, she's rocking out to it, and they're acting like it's their favorite song.
Exactly.
And I'm sitting there going, dude, they predicted the future. It's what's happening right now.
it is.
Exactly.
Songs are getting just shorter and shorter, and it's just this hooky little catch thing, you know,
Exactly.
that gets stuck in your head, and then it's done. But like, this is not a way to build a sustainable business model,
No.
right? We're never going to develop, you know, legendary artists
Exactly.
doing this dumbed down mentality.
Well, and I think also you can see that from like consumer behavior, because I think people do forget very quickly now.
Oh,
they,
gosh, yeah.
They don't care very quickly.
Yeah,
And
I
so
always
once you have
joke
this,
that the same thing. Like, who was in the top 5 this time last year without looking it up?
exactly.
I have no idea.
No
have to go
idea.
look it up. I gotta
Yeah.
know, because it's all so forgettable.
Mm-hmm.
And when things are that forgettable, you know, people are gonna get tired of it, and then eventually it just all sounds the same.
Oh yeah.
And it's again, do you want to build a network of this industry that's self-sustaining,
Mhm.
or do you want to just cash in on some viral moment?
Yes.
Right.
And when you really break it down, the viral moment thing is playing the lotto.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, yeah, one person's gonna pop off somewhere out there. You know, there's enough people out there in the world trying to do the same thing as you.
Exactly.
You know, but if you're gonna build a long-standing career, Rome wasn't built in a day. You got to build it brick by brick.
Exactly.
So like you got to take your own artistic steps to build yourself a ladder to success. You know what I mean? So kind of understanding some of these royalties and publishing things is something people just need to be more aware of on how it works. So when it comes to like licensing things, and you've mentioned video games and different things, like not specifics, but where would you start when you're reaching out to people about those things?
I mean, I would really find a company that is doing sync. Like there's a lot of music libraries, sync representatives that all they do is have a collection of music that they pitch. And a lot of people who, like a lot of indie artists, can get their music in the loop with those companies. Like there's a company here, Crosstown Arts. They have a label services company, and all they do is pitch music. They have a incredible like Rolodex of relationships with supervisors, music supervisors, who are the people who put the music in movies, TV, etc.
They make the decision.
And they've done a lot of like big, mixers with supervisors, and so they've gotten some great syncs for independent, Memphis artists, and that's great. I think you just got to find a company like that, get your stuff in the loop. I mean, trying to create all of these relationships as an independent artist is hard.
It's daunting. I mean, it's doable, but it's just a daunting amount of work.
You got to be sending 15 emails a day and just expect to not get emailed back.
Yeah,
I mean, even
on the majority.
Exactly. Even as a company, it's hard to get a meeting or get your music in the ears of a music supervisor. I can't imagine, or actually I can, because I have done it. It is very hard, when you're just a person pitching these songs and being like, it can work, but you have to have an intro. You have to have someone vouching for you, introducing you to these supervisors, just cold emailing.
Because you have to imagine they're getting bombarded constantly.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, the last thing they want is another person.
Absolutely. And a big part of that is making sure all of the music is easy to clear. So when you're sending out this stuff, we use something called Disco, which is a playlist and like playlist aggregation software, and you just put all of your songs, in playlists based on mood or based on, you can do album and artist, or, tailor it to each sync you want to get.
Right. Okay.
And then you put all of the splits in the metadata, and you want to put all the master information you have, the emails to go clear the master. Any information you can include, the better, because you want them to know. I mean, the best, because they're working with actual labels who can clear stuff,
right?
Well,
when it has to be simple. When they get an email with something, it's like, oh, here's literally every contact for everything to do with the song, every bit of information, ISRC code, blah blah blah. Everything's right here in front of me.
Exactly, all their PRO information.
I'm more likely to pull from a list of songs that has all of that.
Exactly.
Then I am the one that, even if I like it, where I'm like, I gotta go chase all these people down to find out if I can even use it.
Exactly.
So, and again, that's it's very often hard for artists to, take off the creative hat and put on the business hat. But this is the business stuff I'm talking about. Like, you need to catalog everything. If you're doing, a collab track with somebody, you need to go ahead and have split sheets done before you start working on it. Like, do this stuff. This is basics that just need to be handled, because it's going to avoid issues later.
Exactly.
And again, once you already got the song done and you're ready to pitch it to somebody, you need all that information. Everything needs to be organized and set up so that you can just easily send it to people.
You got to cover your ass too.
That too. Yeah. Have a good attorney.
Exactly.
Just go ahead and find one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
What else are you guys working on towards this year, though? Like, what's 2025 look like for you guys?
We're looking to sign more artists. A lot of the publishing. I mean, I think we're really ramping up on publishing.
Very cool.
We are. I don't know how much I can give, but we're, always, in a cap raise, doing that. Just so we can do deals.
Sure.
All of that.
Yeah.
So I think, just looking for artists. I think expanding beyond Memphis, and we have with the South. I think we've, gotten a lot of those guys in the South in general, Louisiana, Texas, Memphis, of course. I think a big thing is just expanding, diversifying the catalog.
Sure.
So
Is there a particular genre of music y'all have done mostly, or like,
I mean, hip hop
is the main?
It's pretty much hip hop. We've
hip
done.
hop's been huge for a minute.
It's been huge, but it actually this year or last year, it dropped in the market,
It
and
did.
I think there are like other things that are.
Country actually
Country
had it last year,
It did,
and now keep in mind a lot of that quote unquote country had hip hop production.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
100% had hip hop
100%.
production.
That's the thing. We have a lot of like hip hop guys who are looking to, and like for Big X the Plug, that's an easy transition.
For
'cause
sure.
He's like a country guy, and he's like
Reps Texas heavy.
Reps Texas heavy. He's in big with like he's friends with like Morgan Wallen and Post
Right.
Malone
Sure,
and all those
sure,
guys.
Mexican OT is
Mexican
kind of
OT,
also doing the same kind of thing.
He was on Shabuzi's last record,
Right,
so
right.
kind of the same. And I think like a lot of those guys are doing, and he kind of has like a country sound to his
sure, for
rap,
Sure,
which
sure,
is
sure. It's a
interesting.
stylistic thing, and it's actually kind of cool to see some of the guys just embrace that. And a lot of the times I find some of those country crossover hip hop related artists are telling better stories. Is that a fair way to say it? Because country was always a storytelling art anyways.
Yeah.
But to have that rap crossover to it, it's like, it is a bit more of the true storytelling, which, for me, I grew up on as much rock as I did hip hop and as much, everything else, being raised in Memphis.
Of course.
But there was, a big difference back then between rap and hip hop. Hip hop would have been more of a purist mentality, the roots, your Erykah Badu and things like that.
Of course.
Like that purist, like rhythm and poetry is what it stands for.
Yeah,
crowd.
Exactly.
And then, everything else falling into more of the, the mainstream kind of rap. But a lot of those hip hop artists, especially the Roots, I think about it because I was a big fan of the Roots, but they were really storytellers.
Of course.
True lyricism.
Of
You know
course,
what I
Black
mean?
Thought is one of the greatest to ever do
Sure,
it.
sure.
And also the live instrumentation is
Yeah,
takes it
yeah,
over the
unbeatable.
top.
Yeah, took it to
Unbeatable.
a totally different level there, and they're all incredibly talented musicians
Exactly.
and band and everything else. But drawing the comparison is that some of the stuff with the hip hop crossover is that the storytelling is a little bit more prevalent there. At least to me, listening in from the outside, it seems like maybe there's a bit of hope to bring back some of the quality lyricism to things as opposed to the dumbed down stuff. That
I could
you
see
know,
that.
we
I
keep
could see
seeing.
that.
Because there's a bit more of a platform, and people who appreciate, country styles of music. I mean, all of that came from storytellers.
Right.
If you go back far
Right.
enough in
Or
country music,
painting a picture of something.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
it was all storytelling. Especially when you go further and further back.
Right.
So I would like to see, again, and this is also an industry issue and some of the things we've talked about, and a lot of times I think it requires a bit of being willing to invest into artists.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
in order to see somebody truly grow, you got to give them time to do, and a platform and a place to do
And
so.
resources.
And resources to do so.
Yeah.
If you want to get quality back at the focus, and I think everybody, including the people that are consumers of music, are kind of itching for something of quality
Yes.
again, because everybody's tired of just swiping to the next thing. You know, like, I mean,
Well, and I think if you live, it's also from my perspective. I am a music fan, and so
Right.
I live that life, and so I actively search for things that do have that are really quality. A lot of storytelling. Like a lot of the hip hop I listen to is very like. I feel like from the MF Doom school. Like it's very, funny bars, like really interesting production. Like I love this guy Billy Woods and Arm & Hammer and like everything the Alchemist produces on. Like
These are good names
that's-
to reach into the
Yes,
podcast. Bro.
no,
I'm glad we're getting these on
absolutely.
the episode.
no, those are like, and I think, real music fans, I think will always search for that stuff.
Right.
But as far as like the mainstream is, they are just fed,
yeah, but even like, I'm a dad and I've got kids, and even they like they're like always ask me, why do all the stations play the same? You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
they're playing
yeah.
the same songs,
Yeah.
you know. So I think that like the next generation's gonna already be sick of it. They're like this is boring. Like I don't want to hear the same song again. You know what I mean? Like it gets tiresome, and I think that there's a kind of a primed market for something to develop out from this. I'd almost say the music industry's been in like a 15-year rut
Oh yeah.
in as far as true growth, true like expansionism
Completely agree.
mentality.
Yeah.
I think the
it's-
only thing that's really like grown and escalated is production. Production is at like an all-time high where I feel like average listeners almost care more about production, at least from the
Yeah.
younger side. Like they're more interested in the beats. They don't really care about the performance
it's
of the
always
artist.
been that way, though.
You think
That's
so?
what's funny. Like John Hampton that I mentioned, that was one of my mentors that started off in a lab coat. He used to joke and say that the listener really only hears two things: the snare drum and the vocal. Where do I bob my head, and what am I singing?
Okay.
And they really don't hear anything else. As even being in a different side of it, being a music nerd, you, like any of us in the industry, we listen to things differently. Like
Right.
I hear pieces, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Like it's kind of funny a lot of times when people bring me something to listen to for the first time, and it's like they'll play it for me, and they'll always ask me about the vocal first, and I'm like, dude, I don't know, I'm gonna have to listen to it again
A couple more times.
like
right,
3
yeah.
or 4 more times.
Exactly.
That's just not where
Like
my ears were at.
I
Yeah.
was breaking. The first thing I'm going to pay attention to is drums, because
Okay.
that's just me as my musical background and as an engineer working on things. It's always a foundation, right? I'm listening to the rhythm of things, the drums and the bass. That's the foundation, and then I start picking apart the rest of the instrumentation as I hear it. And I hear the melody, I hear like the what's happening
Yeah.
with the melody, but I'm paying attention to all these little things.
Where does everything else
And I
sit?
hear 100 million little things.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to be paying attention to the delay and the reverb that's on the vocal before I hear his line.
Right.
You know what
before
I'm
you're
saying? Like,
picking
that
apart
effect
lyrics.
is nice.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
tone. That's it. Oh, what did he say? I don't know. I'm going to have to play it again. But it'll take me 3 or 4 times. But we listen to things even as even audiophiles, just big audio nerds, listen to things as a bunch of pieces. Like I can almost see the pieces of everything that's happening between
Absolutely.
the speakers happening right in front of me. It's a visualized way of listening, and we almost do it naturally. We
Oh,
don't
yeah.
really think about it,
No.
but it's just what happens. But other people, your average Joe that doesn't really play music or do it, just appreciates music, they hear those main things, and there'll always be that one standout moment where they're like, "Ooh, yeah, the bass line was cool."
Right, yeah.
But that's
Exactly.
because the bass line took center stage
Exactly.
for like half a second for that one little lick.
Exactly.
Or whatever it is. But in order to really kind of grow the industry, there's got to be a shift because people are tired of it. And like I said, like looking at this next generation of people growing up, they're not going to just sit there and listen to the bullshit.
No.
And when it's stupid and when it's extra short, it's like, what the hell was that? You know, and like even my kids are like, what, you know, or they hate it. They don't like it.
Right.
Because it was stupid and it was short and it was dumb.
Yeah.
But then other times it'll be absolutely hilarious because they probably saw it on a YouTube video. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Exactly.
So
It works for
it
different
works
mediums.
in different
Yeah.
formats.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
it's
yeah.
different.
Absolutely.
As a song in the car, no, they probably hate
Or for,
that.
yeah, for
But
a 15-second
for a
meme.
funny video,
Yeah.
it works. You know, it's again why there's really never a bad song. It's just, is it being used in
Is
the
it
right
utilized?
way?
Yeah, are they utilizing
You know what I'm
it?
saying? There's
Yeah.
always that one funny moment where it's like, oh, that thing works
Right.
I don't know.
with the visual.
I don't know. I think there are bad songs.
There are bad
There are for sure
Oh,
bad
yeah.
songs.
But it's again context and placement and where something's being used
It is
is
important.
kind of super important.
It is super important because also, to that note, bad songs can be turned into hits.
No, yeah, and it's happened.
And it's happened a lot.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. I mean, it's one of the things, and it's kind of back to what you mentioned with the audience really like caring about production. They hear how good something sounds immediately.
Right.
Right. They can tell quality over, I won't even say less quality, because it could be a polished pop song compared to an indie raw recording type
Right.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the masses are going to gravitate to the thing that sounds more polished.
Or pretty, or yeah.
Or pretty, or whatever it may
Ear
make you feel.
candy-ish, yeah.
Yeah, but because of the polish of the production
Yeah.
right? And it's not taking away from anything to do with that, but I would almost say comparatively, like there's tons of indie records out there that I mean I could appreciate or even mention, but they're not going to be heard the same way that these polished ones sound, right? Now, the comparison I'm going to use is going to be kind of funny, but you could easily take all of the Ed Sheeran songs, and they could have just as easily accidentally ended up being an indie dirty
Right,
recorder,
right,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you could hear it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it would totally have worked as an indie dirty recording kind of vibe.
Right.
And it still would have been a good song.
Right.
Still would have been the same song.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it wouldn't have been widely received
It wouldn't
the
have
way
been
it
on the
was
radio the same way.
with
It
this
wouldn't have been
crazy, clean, polished, so even simplistic sound
Right.
that was there. But it very easily could have been turned into that kind of vibe one way or the other. But again, you know, it comes back to the audience and knowing what the audience is looking for. And again, you know, back to what I was saying, there's no right or wrong kind of in this situation. It's just knowing your market, I guess, is what I mean.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, you know, if you had done an indie style Ed Sheeran recording, I don't think it would have gone anywhere.
Right.
But because they did it the way they did it, yeah, it's massively successful.
Multi-million stream song
But-
every time.
So I guess what else are you guys with Connect Music involved in? Or like and when I ask that, I mean more like in the local scene, like around here. Like, are y'all networking with different things? Are there events y'all are a part of? Is there anything else going on social setting wise?
Honestly, no. We're just music label services.
Low key.
I mean, we do like, you know, we have artists who go on tour and we will participate in some of that and
Sure.
do the-
As
but-
far as the work goes. but-
Exactly. And we sponsor a lot of events like Music Export Memphis.
Sure.
Their office is in our office.
Oh,
we
very cool.
do a lot of events with them. Stuff like that. But I also like, not to derail, Connect Music it's been great to me, and I've like learned so much, and it is my job, and I'm very committed to that. But also I do a lot on my own, like
Sure.
a lot of my, which that's another thing I always say is like, figure out what you're doing, you know, to further your career, even if you're not, you know, making money doing it. Try and do things that you love, and you know, the byproduct of that will be furthering your career, we hope.
Yeah.
And that's like, I'm constantly doing shows with my friends, and there's stuff always happening in the scene here. And I just actually, the big thing I wanted to talk on, I need to make a point of speaking about it before I leave. This magazine from the UK, Brick Magazine, it's like a very great art mag. The design is beautiful on it. They just came to Memphis and did they did an issue. It's part of their 12th issue is about Memphis hip hop. And I got connected with them through my friend, and we went around, introduced them to people, tried to get them their interviews, got them a good bit of interviews with like the legends, like DJ Spanish Fly and Tommy Wright III, my friend Luca, and a lot of like, a lot of the legendary guys, Lil Noid, and that is, I think, releasing soon.
Very cool.
I think very soon in the next month or so, maybe February.
Brick Magazine.
Brick Magazine.
What's their website?
I think it's just brickmag.com. But they're coming back to Memphis to do a release show. Date is tentative, so I don't know.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was great. They're like, she is a fantastic photo. Actually, no, different mag.
Okay.
Brick Magazine UK. Just search that, and but it should be on their front page, as they have like a big collage. The front cover is a big collage of all the Memphis guys.
Cool.
And so I think I got to know them really well. I think they really did right by the city and like understood, why we're a diamond in the rough. And I'm glad they're telling this story, because I often think like Memphis hip hop is so overlooked, in the hip hop world. Like we've been, everyone samples Memphis. The Memphis sound.
Memphis kind of did it first before anybody in so many different conversations.
Absolutely. Clips is in the same issue.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, they've got great stuff going on.
No, they do.
454 whole conversation with him. That's awesome.
The one I have is the BK the Rula cover, and her interview is amazing.
Dude, these are great names to get mentioned on the podcast.
No,
we haven't
absolutely.
done Surf Gang, Cash Cobain. That's
absolutely.
Awesome.
No, all the guys.
That website for any listeners is brickthemag.com.
Brick the Mag, yes. But they're
Very
awesome.
cool.
I highly recommend. I mean, it's a for real art mag. It's a husband and wife duo that run it all themselves.
That's fantastic.
And it's like $20 an issue, but it's like a thick mag, great design, like
lots of quality content.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of print media, so anywhere I can support it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Awesome.
Well, very cool, man. Sam, it has been a pleasure, dude.
Absolutely.
Wonderful
Thanks for having me on.
So glad to have you on. And
My
we will definitely stay in touch, and anything coming up with you guys that we need to mention or talk about, please let us know.
Absolutely.
And, otherwise, that's the end of episode 4. Thank you, guys.